Hi, welcome to the Eastern Township School Board series of videos. In this module, we're going to look at how to navigate the Macintosh environment, part of the Introduction to Technologies for Learning course. So, how do we navigate the environment on the Macintosh? Well, first of all, on my desktop here, you'll notice at the very top I've got my Macintosh HD. That's the hard drive. That's where everything is located. Everything else you see are either external hard drives or files. So what happens if you do not see your hard drive here on the top right corner? Well, by default, the Mac doesn't give you this. So the way to get it up here is to go to your Finder, go to your Preferences. Now this will open up a tiny little window that has 4 tabs on top. Make sure you're on the General tab and make sure Hard Disk is clicked. Again, by default it isn't turned on, so as you can see here it disappeared. So by clicking it on, it will show it up here. That's the easiest way to navigate. Otherwise, what you have to do is go down to the bottom of your screen and then click on the Finder to open up a Finder window. It's okay if you're comfortable with that, but I personally prefer to double click this. Now if I double click this, I'm gonna have a main window that pops up. Here's a little tip. When that window pops up, you can position it and resize it to whatever size you want. For example, let's say I want it to be very thin and narrow, and in the center of my screen, as soon as you close it, when you reopen it, it'll remain like that. So it'll remember how you want it. However, if you start clicking on something and start to navigate, it will forget that. So now if I bring it smaller and I put it, say, over here, when I close it down, it won't remember that because I did some other moves in between. So the best thing to do is determine how you want your window to look, where you want it to appear, how you're comfortable with it, and as soon as it's done, don't touch anything else, close it down, and then when you reopen it, it will remain exactly there. Now, how do we navigate here? Well, as you might have seen in my previous module about the user interface and how to get used to it, well, you've got your favorites here. Under the favorites, mine are organized in a different way, but you have your desktop, you have your downloads, you've got your documents, and you've got your pictures. These will appear here regardless. So if you click on desktop, you'll see everything that's on your desktop. If you click on your downloads, you'll see what's in your download folder. So if you download something from the internet, it'll show up in here. If you click on your documents, you'll have a series of documents in here. The documents folder is where the Mac wants to save things. So if you save something from an application, let's say you're running Microsoft Word, it automatically wants to save it in your documents. And then you've got your picture. As soon as you transfer a picture from a camera or your phone, you'll put it in here. So just to recap, when you double click your hard drive here, you're going to have your main navigating window. You can look under your favorites, you can click on your desktop, your downloads, your documents, and your picture. Now the two that you're going to use the most are your downloads for when you download things off the internet, and your documents for when you save files. So those are the important ones. Now you can rearrange them the way you want to. Right now, by default, it uses a certain way to arrange things. So if I go to my download, for example, right now I'm looking at it in this organization here. Now there are 4 different ways to organize things. You can organize them as icons and see those icons. You can organize them as a list, which is the default, and you can see what kind, the date that it was added here, the size. You can also organize it as columns. Now columns is something I prefer because when you click on something, it will actually show you the content. So you can go several layers deep into what's in here. So that's personally the way I prefer to look at things. If I make it go a little bit wider here, you'll notice that instead of having to pull down to see them, let me just go a bit smaller here. So instead of having to pull down here, if your window is slightly wider, you can see those 4 different ways of organizing it. So you've got your icon view, your list view, your column view, and you've got an additional one that I personally don't find very practical, that shows you a big preview, and then when you click on a file at the bottom, you can see a bigger version. So personally, I recommend using the column view because it lets you navigate very quickly. So here, if I want to go to my download to see what's in the MotoGP folder, all I have to do is I open up this file, go to downloads, click on MotoGP, and I've got the content of it. So without having to double click and open things up, you can quickly navigate. So that's the gist of it as far as navigating the Mac is concerned. The second part of this video is how to navigate on the PC.